welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Wonderful day, a special morning I call it, because seeing every blessed day is more blessings. And of course today is a very beautiful Thursday, getting very close to the weekend which everyone longed for. A special welcome to today's edition of Global Morning. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are focusing on the Christmas that is around the corner right now. But before we talk about the Christmas, my name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo, and of course I am not here alone, because this is a ship that only one person cannot really sail perfectly. So I have Queen Agaba right here. Good morning, Queen.
Good morning, Ramsey Enoch Agbo.
I'm tempted to say Merry Christmas in advance, because while I was coming to the office this morning, you know, when that period is coming close, you know, there is this level of hammer time, you know, it changes. It becomes breezy, as if you're in a riverine area, you know, it becomes harder, okay, and that's a pointer that December is somewhere around the corner. And as a matter of fact, the kids are already asking for so many things. You know, one thing about children is the fact that they don't even know what's happening, whether or not things are going on smoothly, whether the economy is okay. They don't know. What the children know is demands. Okay, and when there is demand, there is supposed to be a supply. That's why it's called demand and supply. But everything being good, it's so good. I think the very important thing this morning is the fact that we are able to see this time of the year again, because a lot of people saw January, but they didn't see March, not to talk of November, and of course walking into December, like we are going to be walking into it in few days from now. And apart from that, so many things happening. The issue of the tax bill. I heard some persons saying a lot of people have different perceptions concerning the tax bill, and looking at what happened at the Senate yesterday, it shows that this tax bill appeals to some persons, while some other persons are not so comfortable with it. But I think it's high time the people get orientated, the people get the orientation, the people get the detailed information of what the bill is bringing to the table. Because what Nigerians want to hear at this time is, now we can go to the market and get enough food that we can eat with as low as 5,000 naira. I'm saying 5,000 naira. For some persons, 5,000 naira is like 5 million, especially people at the hinterland, people that are dependent. And as a matter of fact, some persons said anyone earning less than 1 million naira will be exempted from the payment of tax. And some persons are saying, well, this is also going to address the issue of multiplicity in tax payment, because sometimes you are where you are doing a very small business. Someone is walking in to say, well, we are from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Some other persons are coming to say they are from the State Revenue Service. Some other persons are coming to say they are from the local government, and a whole lot of people. Some persons will tell you names you don't even know, with ID cards that you don't know where they are coming from, just to collect money from you. And before you know it, the little business you're doing, you're paying multiple tax that at the end of the day, you will not have anything to take home, and the purpose of this business will be defeated, especially in a society where there is a whole lot of problem of unemployment. People are looking for what to do, and the government is even encouraging Nigerians to at least have more than one source of income. If you're in the civil service, don't just wait until retirement and you retired and get tired. You need to retire and refire. That's what it means. And that's the reason anywhere you are, you need to know the importance of adding value to where you are and also adding value to yourself. A lot of workers, a lot of staff these days don't even do on-the-job trainings anymore, and you see people getting redundant on their job, getting obsolete. The technological advancement is moving in a light speed, and if you are not up to speed with the movement, you'll be left behind. All of these have contributed to the reason why some persons are not really comfortable with the tax bill. But then I think the national orientation should do as much as possible to educate the people. The economy, the only thing we hear is, the economic policy is helping, because by now this is where we are and this is where we were before we came into office and all of that. But then what Nigerians are actually looking for is the time where all of these processes, all of this profit or gain or whatever growth, as the case may be, that we're having in the economy, as it's been said by some economists, and even Wale Edun have attested to it, and even the presidency have also made a statement in that direction concerning the growth in the economy, no matter how little it is. I think they are trying to say the policy is tilting towards a positive direction. But then what Nigerians are really looking for right now is, now we can at least move from one location to the other, and of course we can do one or two things. Queen, as a matter of fact, one of the things that has actually been making rounds since yesterday and has been forming basis for a lot of conversations on the media is the issue of the Port Harcourt refineries. And while you were coming to the office this morning, were there any significant difference, all right, from what has been on ground? Because some persons said the reduction by Dangote Refinery is supposed to translate into reduction in fares. But as it is, was there anything notable like reduction of fare after Dangote reduced just, how much it reduced? 20 naira. Some persons were saying, you're reducing 20 naira. I was thinking it was going to be something like maybe 200. And Nigerians will say, okay, this is kudos, but then we need more. Nigerians are like Oliver Twist. They will always want to need more. And it's not their fault, because these things are things that normally, under normal circumstances, as Nigerians, they are supposed to enjoy these little amenities, because it is somehow their fundamental rights. But then we don't have all these things playing out. But then, so how was it for you, coming to the office this morning?
Okay. So there were no significant changes in terms of, but we see that we don't have the usual long few queues as long as they usually are. This is, I want to believe, because of even distribution of fuel across the nation. But in terms of prices, fuel prices, I don't think that there are significant changes just yet. So I understand that it might be a gradual process. And while we're talking about Nigeria's economy, and while bit by bit we're seeing maybe subtle changes here and there in terms of the economy, I think what Nigerians want to see is these changes reflect in the prices of food items, particularly essentials, basics. I want to be able to go to the market and see that a model of rice has come down, from what it is now. I don't know what how much a model of rice is now, but Nigerians want to go to the market and see that gari that they can afford. I know that, the little gari that we buy for, I don't know if it's 15 naira or thereabout, that used to be very big, that they tie and all of that. I think it's now sold for way more, and the quantity is now very reduced. And then the paint rub, I don't know how much the paint it is now, but Nigerians want to see that there are drastic changes in the prices of these food items, these essentials particularly. And so when we talk about policies, when we're talking about all of these things, let it not just be paperwork. Let's see practical, let's see play out, not just theoretically, but practically. Let's go to the market and see that the prices, let us go to filling stations to fill our cars and see that, pump price has, come down, because it doesn't make sense to have, our refineries back up and then we're still paying as much as we would when we didn't have functioning refineries. And I must, say that the revitalization of the Port Harcourt refinery is such a welcome development, and I must say kudos. And we want to also see, like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said about the Kaduna refinery and other refineries, being in process again to ensure that we have even distribution of fuel. So these are welcome developments, and we hope that not just the refinery is coming back alive again, but that it is reflecting in the day-to-day life of every Nigerian, an average Nigerian. Let us see it. Let us see that, because once pump price goes up, you begin to hear that even things that are not related to pump prices, just begin to hear that, this price, the price of this thing has gone up, the price of this thing has gone up. Let me just believe that transportation. But, even items that are grown here that may not necessarily need to be transported from one place to another within that location and vicinity, but because pump price has gone up, the price of fuel has gone up every other day.
That's Nigeria.
You just begin to hear that, and you're asking, why is the price of this item up? You hear fair price don't go. Fair price.
The prices of fuel translate into the increment in virtually everything.
And then I also want to appeal to Nigerians to be fair to us. We're always waiting for that point where pump price has gone up. Just any little adjustment to begin to inconvenience Nigerians, even when you know that this is not going to affect your business in any way. Take, for instance, goods that you have had stock up that you bought for way less. Way less. I understand that going to buy it again, the prices might have, increased a bit. But the way we jack up prices, the exorbitance, it's just insane. Like Nigerians doing this to Nigerians. We know that the economy is not smiling, but can we be fair to, Nigerians? Can we not wait for the slightest, news of increment, and then we're skyrocketing things are skyrocketing. If you go to supermarkets now, if you go to the market now, you'll be opening your eyes for products that you used to buy 3 times lesser, sometimes even 10 times lesser than the amount that you buy it for. So I want to appeal to the conscience of Nigerians, basically. I know the situation we're in now, where we find ourselves in now, but let's also be, above all, Nigerians too. Our fellow Nigerians.
Yes, we need to be fair to ourselves, because we are still Nigerians. At least in brotherhood we stand. So we are still one. So we shouldn't take advantage of one another. Yeah, that will be forming basis of our discussion this morning. We'll have 2 segments of discussions this morning. We'll be looking at the state of the nation, and of course matters arising from the Port Harcourt refinery. And some person said it's a claim. We need to see these things play out. Someone said something yesterday, said, well, it's been said, but then the practicality of it is what we are waiting for, and how much of it we will have. All of this will form the basis for our discussion this morning. We're going on a quick break. After this break, we'll return, and it will be time for us to look at the major headlines on the national dailies. That will be after this break.
Well, many thanks for staying with us. It's still your favorite breakfast show, Global Morning, here on Global Television. And we are going to be bringing you the front pages of the national dailies this morning for your viewing pleasure. And this morning we will be starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. Big story here on the Daily Trust says, Senate tax bills. Senate brushes aside opposition amidst presidential committee to debate proposed reform legislations today. We have just underneath the nameplate of the Daily Trust, fraud. Yaya Bello remanded for fresh arraignment today. Operators raise safety concerns over air traffic controllers shortage. TED Fund suspends foreign scholarship over cost abscondment. And then we have right here a picture of the governor of Yobe State, Mai Bala Buni. He was in Damaturu, presenting a 2.9 billion support to victims of flood and vulnerable persons, as well as small business owners right there. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning. Our next point of call, Ramsey Agbo will bring to us.
Thank you very much, Queen, for that those headlines. Let's quickly get to the Vanguard newspaper this morning, where we have some other juicy headlines. This one says, above the nameplate, NLG is the kicker. Shell starting arbitration heating with Venture Global, says CEO. Then this one says, federal government security agencies, that's the kicker. Stop torturing suspects. Okay, that's coming from the federal government as the one security agencies. We've had cases. Just yesterday, while on my way, I heard from a radio station where someone was being tortured until he died. And there was an attempt, according to what I heard, there was an attempt to cover it up. But then it leaked, and at least the people concerned, the security operatives concerned, are actually facing the law as we speak. I think these are some of the things that the federal government should look into, because we've had cases where people have been forced to say they do what they never did because of torture or something. I think there are better ways, like it's been done in advanced countries, better ways to check these things so that we can know who is a suspect in real terms. And this one says, gunmen kidnap 3 from innocent showroom in Anambra State. Details read on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Naira depreciation boost foreign portfolio investment by 155.5%. All this you can find on the Vanguard newspaper. The big story is where we're going to right now. Big story says tax reforms bill. That's the kicker. Nigerians, I said this while we're talking, while we're giving the introduction. It's on the papers right here. And it says Nigerians earning below 1 million a year exempted from income tax. I think this sounds like good news to a lot of people. That's if the bill is being passed, because I think that bill is going to get more attention today. This one says just 2 riders to that story. And the first rider says a Senate to pass bills today. Then the second rider says Oyedele, others expect to explain to Jerusalem, say bill pro-poor to tax prosperity. All right, then this one says reps investigate discourse over failure to replace obsolete meters. And that's for those who have the meter, because a lot of people don't even have the meters, and some don't have meter. A lot of people are doing what they call estimated billing, and they can come to your house to tell you, well, this is what you pay, not knowing what you are even using, not knowing the kind of appliances that you have. It is just estimation. Some are paying more while others are paying less, but it will be better if everyone have the prepaid meter or whatever meter they want to give to the people. That's still on the Vanguard newspaper, and this one says that experts call for intervention in rising cases of diabetes. Details you can find on page 5. Alleged 110 billion naira fraud. That's the kicker. Ex-governor Bello Duct remanded in EFCC custody. A lot of drama ensuing from the case of the former Kogi State governor. It's not something we would want to talk about now. Everyone knows what's happening and how it's going, as a matter of fact. Well, details of that you can find on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, as a matter of fact, this one says, I will quit if Super Eagles qualify for 2026 World Cup. That's coming from Bruce. Okay, I will quit. That actually caught my fancy because it's somehow my area, you know, when it comes to sport. We are interested in it. Okay, that's the much we'll be taking from the Vanguard newspaper as we go to the next point of call. There's so many things happening. There is something making rounds, and that is the emergence of the new NUJ chairman. It's something that has been making round. We will talk about that much later in our conversation, but then I saw it in one of the papers much earlier. All right, so let's get to the next paper, which is, of course, as a matter of fact.
Before we get to the next paper, let's look at some of the stories on the Vanguard newspaper. The particular one is the gunmen kidnapped in Anambra State, from Innocent Showroom in Anambra State.
All right. Well, I don't know why that should happen in the first place, because the kidnap, I don't know. The situation in the south, in the east, is becoming something else. Okay, it's amazing. It's surprising that kidnappers will get to kidnap people from Innocent Showroom. That boosts some form of question. How is the security situation? Because we know Innocent is a point of assembling where cars are being assembled, and that is an indigenous company that a lot of Nigerians are excited about. But it's so painful that kidnappers. See, one of the things that is disheartening when you hear stories like this is the fact that in your own country, this is something we've been praying for, you know, and this is something Nigerians have been, yes, for businesses to grow, especially indigenous businesses. These are things that has cost us fortune in the past. Going out, even though I know to get cars now is still very expensive, but then if we have more of innocence in this country, like we have some others too, I think that will reduce the cost of cars, okay, vehicles in Nigeria. But then sabotaging what we know is ours, all right, doing things to bring down companies that are trying to contribute to the rebuilding of the nation, boosting of the economy, is not a good one at all. So I think something needs to be done, all right, especially to forestall situations like this. More so that innocent vehicle is at least helping Nigerians. I've seen federal government use some of the vehicles, especially the buses, and I've seen Nigerians use it too. You see all this IVM, you know, these are vehicles that are coming from there. Now, what is the nature of the security, all right, around this organization? These are things we should be questioning.
But the question should be now that Innocent is just one of many businesses that have been attacked over the years. How many people, how many businesses have the resource, you know, to be able to get as much security personnel around their businesses, ensure that it boils down to the society we found ourselves in, and the security situation in Nigeria. Because how much would you now begin to take off the profit that you make to pay heavily on security particularly because we need to have a society that is safe. A safe space for business owners, small business owners. Innocent is one of those businesses that we're talking about here. And this is why I continue to say that we cannot achieve lasting results. We cannot achieve lasting, improvement, economic growth, where we continue to have insecurity, when security has not been tackled yet. Or else, everything we're doing will be an exercise in futility. It will be an exercise in futility. And so it's important for us to, first of all, fix our security architecture, and so that we don't have repeated occurrences like this, where small business owners are raided, and it can be discouraging as well. That's why we see businesses pack up. Today, you see a business that is blossoming, doing very well, and you begin to wonder why all of a sudden this business is folding up or closing down and relocating. Why people are relocating? They're relocating particularly because of the safety of their businesses and their lives as well. Because these people here who have been abducted now, Innocent would have to, maybe the organization would have to begin to look for means and ways to raise ransom to ensure that it could be that those people there were employers or even customers who have come to patronize, that vehicle from that showroom. And so, it poses as a strain to the business owner. First of all, the employees, those who are employed as well, and also it would definitely affect the outcome of the profits from such organizations. And Innocent is, like I said, Innocent is just one of the many businesses that we have who are facing security threats. A few weeks ago back, one actress, a popular actress, was complaining about how her shop was raided. And we've had instances like this where people's shops, even with security people on ground, security personnel on ground. But now let's ask, even in malls as well, shops are raided, goods worth millions of naira are raided, and then we begin to question the security that we have. These are shops that obviously have security personnel around. How well equipped are they?
That's one
Another
of
question that we should be asking.
In fact,
how well trained are they? Or do we just pick up people from the roadside and just put them on the gate and say, mount this gate and ensure that this business is safe?
If you go to events now, you see some private security operatives. When we talk about security, is beyond just having muzzles. Because as a security operative, there is some level of intelligence that you ought to have, because it is not the energy sometimes, as a matter of fact. So what we should be thinking about is what we can do, all right, to forestall this situation. And the government should also try as much as possible to step in, so that places like Innocent Vehicle, organizations that they know are contributing very well to the growth of the economy, should be supported with security, looking at the security situation of the country. Because like you said, some of these companies, some of these organizations may not even have what it takes to have a formidable security outfit, apart from just having the private security that they have, opened the gates, closed the gate, and all of that, with battens. They have little or nothing to do when situations arise. When you see armed men, kidnappers, coming to do what they do. So I think the government, to an extent, I feel, should support these organizations, viable organizations, companies that they know are paying good taxes, contributing to the growth of the nation.
Particularly putting us in good light in, the world's map.
That's it.
These companies that manufacture things that, are of international standards and international repute, like cars. And also they should be supported outside of security as well. It should be supported. I know that, quite frankly, some Nigerians use Innocent vehicles, not vehicles, and some Nigerian made cars. But how many of our lawmakers actually use these vehicles? If we say that every lawmaker in Nigeria, rather than have imported vehicles, foreign cars and all of that, how about we saturate the market with Nigerian-made products? Nigerians are doing fantastically well, amazingly well. They need that support, they need that push to be able to ensure that, and it takes a lot of patriotism. Someone who is patriotic to still want to do such indigenous, brand businesses here in Nigeria amidst all of the challenges.
And that's one of the challenges that they are facing right now, the kidnap that we just heard about. All right, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you more headlines. Stay with us.
Well,
Welcome back. It is still Global Morning, and of course we're looking at the major headlines for the day. And now we look at the nation's newspaper, where we're talking about the big story where the former president or head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, has said, well, our leaders should be more focused on the unity of the nation rather than individual interests. And thus he was particular about the North. He's telling northern leaders to focus on the national interest, okay, and make it a priority. Whatever you do, you should know that the nation's interest should be number one. Just one rider to that story. Ex-head of state advises Shekarau-led group. Okay, I think he's trying to address the insecurity in the country. Then this one says how tax reforms will transform economy by president's team. Edo schools in deplorable condition, says Okpebolo. That's the governor of Edo State. The recently elected governor of Edo State is beginning to point out one or two. Just one rider to that story, and the rider says a hospital not completed. That's still coming from Okpebolo. Then on page 2 of the nation's newspaper says act now on Almajiri time bomb, says Governor Sule. Act now on Almajiri time bomb, says Governor Sule. More headlines are still coming from the nation's newspaper. Above the header, NLG is the kicker. Shell starting arbitration hearing with Venture Global, says CEO. Then this one is about the Port Harcourt refinery. A Port Harcourt refinery petrol only for NNPCL outlets, meaning the other marketers. No wonder marketers are already clamoring, and a lot of people are saying so many things. A lot of matters arising from the statement that came yesterday concerning the Port Harcourt refinery. And we'll be talking about that as it's going to form part of our conversations today. Two conversations that we'll be having today. Then finally, from the nation's newspaper this morning, just two more. Yahaya Bello gets December 10 date for trial in 110 billion naira fraud charge. One rider to that story. Ex-governor reminded in EFCC custody. And finally, this one says Oyo government begins trial of auxiliary. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the nation's newspaper this morning as we get to our next point of call, which is the Daily Times newspaper. That's going to be the next point of call. Do stay with us as we bring you those headlines. But then, Queen, from what we were saying just now, I think it's obvious that the Port Harcourt refinery and the issue of Yahaya Bello is making rounds in almost all the papers this morning. Now we'll get to the Daily Times newspaper. On the Daily Times newspaper this morning, the big story says, Senate summon Works Minister Julius Berger, CCECC over Odupani Calabar Highway. And that headline actually caught my fancy. That's why I had to take it before you continue from there.
Yeah, the Senate summoning the Minister of Works for the Julius Berger over the CCECC Odupani Calabar Highway. I think you'll find that story on page 2 of the the Daily Times newspaper, right there. I think it's something we need to look at. We all need to read it up if you find it of interest. But let's look at a story above the nameplate right there that says tax reform bill receives boost as Senate receives presidential committee. And then we have Southeast road users decry extortion, frustration at checkpoints. Yes, this story, I think we saw it yesterday in one of our yesterday's paper, and we're seeing it today again in the papers, how commuters on the Southeast have been experiencing exploitation. In fact, as far back as this weekend, recently we've been hearing of cases where road users who travel by, around the South and the East have been experiencing this sort of attack. Even kidnapping as well. There was a video of someone who went live while they were, being raided by kidnappers. And so right here also we have that they're decrying extortion and frustration at checkpoints. So you can even imagine that these incidents usually happen close to checkpoints where we are supposed to have security personnel on ground to ensure safety, and we see these extortions even from the policemen as well, who are supposed to be enforcing, so most likely derailing from their duty. Reps committee grills Army Chief Oluyede behind closed doors. And then we have FCT, Senate wants Development Commission for satellite towns. And then Tinubu to lead delegation to Nigeria, South Africa by National Commission. And right there on the front page of the paper of the Daily Times, we have picture of the Vice President of Cote d'Ivoire, and we also have the picture of our own Vice President right there, Vice President Kashim Shettima, Minister of Mines, Oil and Energy of Cote d'Ivoire, as well as Nigeria, and all the notable ministers right there at the at a summit in Abidjan, I think, yesterday. And these are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Times. Our next point of call, Ramsey Agbo, will be bringing to us.
Thank you very much, Queen, for those headlines. Let's quickly move to the Punch newspaper as I quickly make it punchy. From the Punch newspaper, both of the nameplate, I have 3 stories there. Tinubu to name new envoys after France, South Africa visit. Details you can actually find on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. A 30-year experience prepared me for Chief of Army Staff job. Oluyede, like you were talking about, the drilling behind closed doors. That position is not a small position at all. And when you hear things like that, you should know that even the Senate know that coming in to occupy that position is not something easy. So I wasn't really surprised to hear that. So as a matter of fact, everything that is being done there is really okay. But at the end of the day, we will get to know if he has been asked to get started. And as a matter of fact, the president have already given his word and his instruction. So we're waiting for the implementation. And this one says a Finnish court sets May 2025 date for EPA's trial. A tax panel to defend bill at Senate debate today. Then the big story says Port Harcourt refinery. I'm not surprised that it's everywhere on the papers. This one says marketers threaten boycott as NNPCL juggles petrol price. One of the major problems that we have always had is the issue of pricing. This time, let's see how it's really going to go. Just one rider to that story. Dealers insist PMS must be cheaper than Dangote's. NNPCL delays price portal opening, restrict products. This is coming from marketers. Marketers are already crying out concerning the incident. More headlines from the Punch newspaper. EFCC opposes Bellows bail application. Okay, EFCC opposes Bellows bail application. Court remands ex-governor. We already heard of that. This one says Osun Airport. That's the kicker. APC projects. APC, in fact, I think so many things happening. As a matter of fact, APC, as far as that airport is concerned, the project panel clash over relocation, and is something that has been a thing of concern. Then this one says a tragedy averted as tanker spills diesel in Lagos State. Remember what happened at the North, where during that spillage that a lot of people lost their lives, and the villagers came out to say, well, half of their youths have been wiped out because people went to fetch fuel, and it led to a whole lot. This one says reps to probe 8.4 trillion naira allegedly withheld by NNPCL. I think the drama coming from NNPCL is so much, a lot of drama. But then I think it is something that people should talk about. Okay, as a matter of fact, money have exchanged hands in the past, and a lot of budgets have been done for things that we never saw it manifest in real terms. So many times this money is being given out without supervision, and no one is being held accountable. You get to hear things like EFCC is on this, ICPC is on this. That's later on. And sometimes you look at that, Nigerians would want to think that seems like a damage control. What should be done in the actual sense of it, is putting up mechanisms that will supervise every money that's been given out to organizations, parastatals, agencies for any form of assignment, even ministries, so that there can be proper accountability. Okay, but the way it is right now, I don't know, but it's obvious that the people are coming up to complain when they discover some form of inconsistency. But what should be done is that these things shouldn't even happen at all in the first place. That's what it means, because giving it the opportunity to happen will give room for a whole lot of inconsistencies. If we are trying to build the nation, if we are trying to make sure we revamp the economy once again, then there are things we need to do. These things are very, very important. As a matter of fact, Queen, one of the things that Nigerians will always complain about is money being given out without anyone being held accountable for this money. Then later on, you begin to hear that social money is missing this amount. But it's so amazing that this money is not small monies at all. It's big money. And it's something that Nigerians are very, very surprised, and it's worrisome. But as it is right now, it's better late than never. What do you think?
Yeah, what is even more worrisome is the monies that are given out to people who are vulnerable. Take, for instance, people in need, people in IDP camps, and all of that. We understand that while these monies might be disbursed to small business owners to ensure that it helps their businesses, and then we find out that the middlemen now siphon this money for their personal gains, and then what is given out to the people who are actually in need of these monies are peanuts or nothing compared to the regional amount that was, initiated for these people. It's sad and it's worrisome. And I think whoever is at the top should be able to also be involved in whatever happens at the grassroots. Take, for instance, you're a supervisor. You'd find a supervisor having another supervisor under that supervisor. Why? Because we just want to delegate duties and not do the actual work. So one person is only answerable to you, and you ensure that the other person that is answerable to you oversees the affairs that you are supposed to be supervising. It doesn't make sense. And then when it comes to leadership, to an extent, I think that leaders are supposed to be in the midst of the people that they've been called to lead and serve. If you hold a position and you want to see accountability, then you must be in the midst of those people who you are about to give out money, who you're about to help, to ensure, have one-on-one interviews and conversations with them. If it's possible, see to it that these money are given in a more transparent way. You don't just give it out to a middleman who now disburses this money to these people, and at the end of the day we don't have follow-up. We don't ensure that the money gets to business owners that are supposed to get to, or IDPs. Why I continue to say IDPs, because it's very disheartening the amount of money we hear that is given out to these people, and at the end of the day the money doesn't get to the people who it's supposed to get to. So we need to do more follow-up, more implementation, and to ensure that these monies gets to whoever it is it needs to get to. Well, I believe that we'll still have these conversations after this break, because we'll have to bring you the global AM news. So stick around. We'll be right back. After the AM news, the conversation continues with myself, Rancy Agbo, and our expert guest on the program. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in and around the world to the Global AM News, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nigecomsat. President Bola Tinubu says his administration will support initiatives to promote security within the Gulf of Guinea. Represented by the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, President Tinubu spoke at the opening of the 8th Symposium of Heads of Navies and Coast Guards in the Gulf of Guinea on the maritime environment in Abuja. The President stated that the Gulf of Guinea has become the main transit hub and facilitator for Africa's economic growth, noting that the region has vast oil and natural gas reserves, supplying about 10% of global energy demand, with significant quantities consumed in Europe, North America, and Asia. Tinubu says regional and global collaboration is critical in unlocking the immense potential of the blue economy in the Gulf of Guinea region. In a significant development for the Tijaniya Islamic Order, Khalifa Sheikh Mahi Sheikh Ibrahim Naise has announced several landmark resolutions aimed at fostering unity and strengthening the movement globally. Part of the resolution is the discontinuation of the office of Khalifa in Nigeria. In a historic decision, Khalifa Ibrahim stated that the office of Khalifa within the Tijaniya in Nigeria has been discontinued. He also says the affairs of the Tijaniya movement in Nigeria will continue to be guided and counseled by two highly revered scholars, Sheikh Tahir Usman Bauchi and Sheikh Sharif Ibrahim Saleh Al-Hussaini. Following this development, the national Maulid celebration of Sheikh Ibrahim Naise in Nigeria will now be under the direct leadership of Sheikh Mahi Naise. He will work closely with other sheikhs and muqaddims to ensure the event continues to serve as a unifying and spiritual milestone for Tijaniya movement. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu has departed for France on a state visit at the invitation of French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife, Brigitte Macron. The president will be welcomed at the historic 350-year-old French military museum, Les Invalides, and the Palais de Elysée by the Macrons for a series of ceremonial events which will lead into bilateral discussions. This was contained in a post made on Wednesday, November 27th on X by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on social media, Olusegun Dada. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the appointment of Jamiu Abiola as his Senior Special Assistant on Linguistics and Foreign Matters. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, says Jamiu served as Special Assistant to the President on special duties in the office of the Vice President. President Tinubu tasked the appointee to work closely with the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs and bring his wealth of experience to bear in his new assignment. Former Governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has been remanded in the custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, following his arraignment for alleged money laundering allegations. Justice Marian Aneni, remanded Bello and adjourned the matter to December 10th for ruling after the lawyers in the matter argued the bail application. The defense counsel, Joseph Daudu, asked the court to grant bail to the former governor as the alleged offences were bailable. There was a mild drama at the National Assembly following the Senate's attempt to allow members of President Bola Tinubu's economic team into the chamber. The Senate leader, Okpeyemi Bamidele, had moved for suspension of Order 12 to allow for visitors into the chamber. However, immediately after the submission, the lawmaker representing Bauchi Central, Senator Abdul Ningi, stood up and read from the order listing the titles of those who were allowed into the Senate plenary according to Senate's rules. The mayor of Uroboland and head of the Association of Urobo Mayoral Family Crown, Eshanekbe Israel, has commended President Bola Tinubu and the Chief Group Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Engineer Mele Kyari,
for the successful commencement of petroleum product loading at the Port Harcourt refinery. In a statement following the announcement of the refinery's resumed operations, Akpodoro described President Tinubu as a jinx breaker who has achieved what previous administrations could not. He expressed optimism that with the refinery's operation at a capacity of 65,000 barrels per day, Nigeria's energy crisis would ease and market forces might drive down fuel prices. The FCT Police Command is deploying additional personnel and equipment for patrols, stop and search operations and surveillance throughout the Federal Capital Territory. A statement issued by SP Josephine Ade, Police Public Relations Officer at FCT Command, says the initiative aims to combat rising incidents of one-chance crimes and car theft. He says they will be impounding vehicles without registration numbers with only one plate or using defaced plates. Regulations regarding covered number plates and tinted glasses, he says, will also be enforced. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has debunked his death rumors making the rounds on social media, saying he is alive. The ex-president, who wondered why some people would wish him such, says he quickly informed his family members that he is healthy. Obasanjo stated this during the inauguration of the Old Garage Okefia Lameko dual carriageway in Osogbo, Osun State, one of the projects being inaugurated to commemorate the second anniversary of Governor Ademola Adeleke. The federal government tasked stakeholders from the justice sector, law enforcement agencies, and civil society organizations to support measures geared towards putting an end to the practice of torture in Nigeria, in line with the United Nations Convention Against Torture and the operational protocol to the Convention Against Torture. The Solicitor General of the Federation and Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Justice, Mrs. Beatrice Jedi-Agba, represented by the Chief State Counsel and member of the National Committee Against Torture, Dr. Omozoje Okobo, made the call in Abuja in her remarks at the Sensitization Advocacy Session for law enforcement agencies, MDAs, and relevant stakeholders. She urged the stakeholders to collaborate and speak with one voice against the perpetrators of torture and other cruel, inhumane, degrading treatment meted out to persons, especially those in detention, which is against the law and legal instruments of the country. Kano State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission discovered warehouses where federal government palliatives rice of 50 kg are being rebagged. The rice with the inscription "Not for Sale" and the picture of President Bola Tinubu were being rebagged around Kano Western Bypass. Muhuyi Rimigado, who led the raiding operation, says about 28 trucks of rice worth more than 1.4 billion naira were uncovered. The Nigerian Data Protection Commission, NDPC, and the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, have signed a memorandum of understanding to strengthen data protection and privacy in the insurance sector. The agreement was signed in Abuja by Dr. Vincent Olatunji, the National Commissioner of the Commission, Olusegun Omosehin, the Commissioner for Insurance, and Chief Executive Officer of NICOM to formalize the working relationship between both entities. Nigeria Data Protection Commission has been working with NICOM to deepen data protection and privacy into the sector. Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo has approved free bus services for the people of the state through Edo City Transport Service. The Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Fred Itwa, says the initiative is part of the Okpebholo administration's drive to entrench his policy direction. The free bus service, the government stated, will cover Benin Metropolis and the 3 senatorial districts of the state, intra- and intercity routes, and is part of the governor's commitment to enhance the welfare of all Edo people. You're watching the Global AM News, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. When the AM News returns, Chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service says Nigeria needs more taxpayers, not new taxes. Details of this, as well as business and foreign stories, coming right after the break. Please stay with us. Well, many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the AM News. In business, the House of Representatives approved the 2025 to 2027 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper ahead of next week's presentation of the 2025 appropriation bill to the National Assembly by President Bola Tinubu. A multi-year plan for the public expenditure that sets targets for budget expenditure and fiscal policy. They are designed to ensure these objectives are respected throughout the budget process. Recall that Tinubu transmitted the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper to the National Assembly for consideration following the approval of the Federal Executive Council. After 7 postponements, the Port Harcourt Refinery Company has commenced fuel production, promising a daily supply of about 200 trucks, as about 1 million litres of refined products were released by the plant. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited unveiled the refinery, saying the old facility, which has a capacity of 60,000 barrels per day, had been revamped and upgraded with modern equipment. It says the newly rehabilitated complex of the old Port Harcourt Refinery is currently operating at a refining capacity of 70% of its installed capacity. Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, has stated that it is seeking to bring more people into its tax net to solve the revenue problem plaguing the country. Adedeji, who was speaking at the second annual national dialogue at the NPO Reports in Abuja, says the service is not looking to increase the tax payable. Adedeji was represented by the Director Intergovernmental Affairs, Umaru Ahmed Idris, stating that the country is having an infrastructural deficit across all sectors, which needs intervention, but the government can't do that without the current level of revenue streams. The chairman expressed optimism that all critical government revenue generation agencies will surpass their revenue targets before the end of the year. On the foreign scene, China and Mexico lashed out after President-elect Donald Trump threatened to begin his presidency with an immediate trade war against the top 3 United States economic partners. Trump made his threat on social media posts, announcing huge import tariffs against neighbors, Canada and Mexico, and also rival China if they don't stop illegal immigration and drug smuggling into the U.S. China stated that no one will win a trade war, while Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum warned that for every tariff, there will be a response in kind. Police say 6 people have been arrested in London for suspected activities linked to the proscribed Kurdistan Workers' Party, PPK, as part of a significant counter-terrorism policing operation. 2 women and 4 men were detained under the Terrorism Act 2000. The Metropolitan Police say, but there is not believed to be any imminent threat to the public linked to the probe. The PPK is a separatist movement seeking an independent Kurdish state in southeast Turkey. It is banned under British law and is also considered a terrorist group in Turkey, the United States, and the European Union. In sports, the highly anticipated 2024 Abuja Carnival Polo Tournament is set to kick off in grand style during the first week of December, running through to its 3rd week at its iconic venue, the Guards Polo Resort in Asokoro. Unlike previous editions, this year's Carnival Polo Fiesta will be an exclusive affair featuring only Abuja-based teams and horses in a thrilling local derby. The competition will see these teams battling fiercely for 4 major trophies and several subsidiary prizes, ensuring an exciting spectacle for fans. The tournament's centerpiece is a prestigious President's Cup, with other coveted prizes including the FCT Ministers' Cup and the Guards Brigade Challenge Trophy. 2 Super Eagles strikers are on Manchester United's 4-man shortlist to improve their goal scoring under new head coach Ruben Amorim. The Red Devils have scored only 13 times in 12 Premier League matches played so far. According to Sky Germany, Eintracht Frankfurt forward Omar Mamouche and Galatasaray's Victor Osimhen are the leading contenders for a move to Old Trafford. And that's it on the Global AM News here on Global Television, and it came to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nightcomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba, and Global Morning continues with our discussions on topical issues. Please stick around.
To have you back. It is still Global Morning live on your screen, and it is a wonderful Thursday morning. We brought to you earlier the national dailies, the beautiful headlines, because we want to make sure you are informed, and that's part of our priority, because everything that has to do with news and current affairs, you need to know. Why? Because you deserve to know, and it's part of our mandate. But now, we want to go into the first segment of our conversation today. Something good is happening to the NUJ, all right? And we are so excited about that, and that is the emergence of Alhassan Yahaya as the new NUJ president. A lot of Nigerians have been looking forward to this time. You don't know. But then when intellectuals are coming together to pick someone that leads them, you know how tasking it is, and you know how difficult it is for someone to emerge. It's not like the other form of politics that we have, even though politicking is part of every election. You can't take that away anyway. But then I think we want to say congratulations to Alhassan Yahaya for emerging as the NUJ president. And we are so excited because he is now the president, and he's not someone new. He's been in the scene. He's a journalist that has done very well in the past. Queen, as it is right now, there is celebration. Some people are excited, but so many questions in the heart of journalists. Looking at what journalists have faced in the past, looking at the kind of leaders that they've had in the past, and what has transpired in the past. When any leader is coming to the office, a lot of expectations from the people they are coming to serve. Just yesterday, I was speaking with a colleague, and we're talking about what it means to lead. Leadership is not just a title, it's not just a portfolio, it's not just an assignment. It is beyond just leading the people. But the aspect of servanthood, you can't take that away. And any leader that doesn't have that mentality, that every leader is a servant, because you are actually coming to serve the people as a leader. Why? Because a lot of loads for you to carry. You need to have a listening ear. That's number one. You need to carry everyone along. You need to know how to spank, and you need to know how to pet. The double P, you can't take that away. Okay, you spank and you also pet. All right, you play and you do serious things. That is some of the qualities of the leader. You are not too hard, you are not too soft, but you must make sure the people are being led, because every leader have a promised land where he is supposed to take the people to. And for every leader, there is an expectation. The same thing is applicable. to still have you right there watching Global Television as we bring you the conversation. The conversation is so apt, it's so necessary, it's so vital, it's so important. Because if you pick it from the Freedom of Information Bill and how free that freedom is, then you move straight to the number of journalists that has been harassed. They've been harassed severally. Some persons were taken away without their family even knowing where they are. And you come to talk about the censor, you know, the level of censoring and victimization, and the way the society look at journalists because of the way they are being portrayed are things of concern to the journalists. We will be having someone join us on the conversation, and that's more later. That's later on. But then, we want to say congratulations to the Nigerian Union of Journalists' newly elected president. Talking about Alhassan Yahaya. Well, he's not new. I told you he's not new in the scene. He has been a journalist, and he is the immediate past national deputy president, okay, of the union, and he was able to defeat someone to emerge. You must have contested, done your campaign, your manifestos, but then there is a difference. When we got started, I said, these are intellectuals, very intelligent people, picking someone to lead them in a noble profession. Okay, journalists are very educated, intelligent people. You can't lead them when you are not intelligent. And as a matter of fact, he has emerged as the national president, and we are so excited about that. And it will also interest you to know that he is the former Gombe Council chairman of the NUJ. And one very interesting thing is that the deputy is a woman, and I think she's smiling. You know, she's smiling. I think this is happening. The national vice president, the deputy, you know, to have a woman work with a man, there is this smooth sailing that a lot of people predict, but we are waiting to see how they will really sail. And as a matter of fact, it's so good that a deputy director with Radio Nigeria, Mrs. Abimbola Oyetunde, emerged as the deputy national president of the union unopposed, while Mrs. Ronke Afobioye Sambo from Ekiti State Council was re-elected unopposed as the vice president zombie. And this is very important. And Nigerians, especially journalists, are looking forward to it. I can see the excitement on Queen's face when I said the deputy, okay, the vice president is a female. And I think this is about the first time we're having this. So as it is.
Well, I wanted to, aside from the fact that I must applaud the newly elected president of the National Union of Journalists, who is Alhassan. If you look at the scores from the election, you will see that usually elections like these are closely contested. You get scores, the scores would most likely be similar, rivaling, I beg your pardon, with maybe few points ahead. But here you see that he scored 436 votes as opposed to his rival Dele Tumbi, who got 97 votes. That's to tell you that it's a very...
But they would have declared him unopposed. That's what it means.
It was contested, and you can see the margin, the large margin, 436 votes as to 97 votes. I want to believe that this must have been due to precedent. He was the vice president, and if he had not led up to capacity, I'm not sure it would have earned him this much vote as he did do. So it's just a testament to his dedication, his commitment to the Union of Journalists, and also his years of expertise and putting in the work, basically. We say a big congratulations to him. And it's a beautiful thing to note also that the vice president is a female who is also, the former
Gombe, I beg your pardon, who is also the Deputy Director of Radio Nigeria, Mrs. Abimbola Oyetunde, who has emerged as the Deputy President of the Union. We congratulate them both and we look forward to the amazing things. This is of concern to us because we're also journalists and we're in the field, and we look forward to, their decisions that would definitely impact the lives of journalists and journalism in Nigeria. I think it's a commendable one right here. And, the election, I still look at the figures and I'm amazed. I know what it is like to have
400, then you're talking about 436, then you're talking about 90 something. Well, for me, if I count, I won't even finish counting, but then due process had to be followed. Maybe that was the reason they had to count it. If not, if you're 90 something, by the time I get to 100, I'll just say, well, he has won. But it's so good that it was counted. And the margin, like Quinn said, is so much. And that's to tell you that the offices he has held before, maybe due to his past antecedents, that's the reason a lot of people threw their support behind him. And to whom much is given, much is also expected. But then there are so many questions that may be in the hearts of journalists concerning the expectations from him. What is the manifesto? What is the promise? One of the things a lot of people think and their feelings in Nigeria these days is the fact that when it comes to politics, what they say is different from what happens when it comes to the office. But when it comes to NUJ, you have it very different, even though you can't take away the fact that we still have some Judas wherever you have the 12 disciples. Despite the fact that some persons might want to sabotage the process of getting things done rightly, we still have people who will always insist that the best things be done. And Nigerian Union of Journalists all over Nigeria are looking forward to what Comrade Al-Hassan Yahaya will bring to the table. And one of the things that a lot of people will talk about is the harassment of journalists in Nigeria. Despite the fact that we have the Freedom of Information Bill, we've had oftentimes that some journalists are being arrested, without their family members even knowing where they have been taken to. All of this should form part of the things that he will be working towards, restoring the integrity of journalists. Because you get to some places and you introduce yourself as a journalist, as a media person. There's a way some people, who don't really know what it takes. In some nations, they don't play with journalists at all. People are very careful when they see journalists, when they see the media people, say, oh, he's a media person. I need to be careful what I say. But here, people in governments, they look at journalists as maybe people who are just there because they wanted to be there, which is not the truth. Journalists are the watchdogs of the society. Journalists are the ones who bridge the gap between the government and the governed. These are certain things that should be known. And one of the things that I know journalists in Nigeria, Nigerian journalists, will be looking forward to is how to make sure people who are not real journalists, because we have a lot of people today who are quacks, parading themselves as experts. But by the time you see them practice journalism, you know that they are quacks. But you see them fronting themselves, you see them, spoiling the names of the real journalists. So I think certain things should be done. As a journalist, you should be a member of NUJ. You will be surprised that there are journalists practicing in Nigeria here that are not even members of NUJ in their various branches. We have different branches, like we have the FCT branch where the office is at Otako, and we have in other states, in Benue State, in Kogi State, all journalists. Journalism is one practice that is so noble that what they do should actually be looked at. As it is right now, he has been elected, but then he needs just a little time, okay, to settle down and do the needful. One very important thing that we mustn't take away is the fact that sometimes the leaders may be good, but the people who are leading with them. So, Queen, let me ask you this question. Now we have a female, okay, deputizing, a vice president, okay, who happens to be a female. And one very important thing about this election is the fact that these people are people that have practiced and may still be practicing. So it makes it easier for them to know the problems, okay, that journalists face. For you as a journalist, as a media person, what do you think should be the first area that Comrade Yahaya needs to look at?
Well, I think it will be the, we've spoken extensively about freedom of press, particularly for journalists. The uneven detaining of journalists that we've seen time and time happen over and over again. You see a pressman, the harassment from police officers to pressmen, particularly when they had the last protest. We saw a lot of press people who were harassed because they were trying to cover these stories. They went as far as calling them names and all of that. I think it should stop. But most importantly, we look forward to those who are quacks, who are, because they say in every place where you have originals, you definitely find because of the presence of originals, there will definitely be counterfeits, there will definitely be fakes. And so just how we have genuine pressmen, people who are qualified pressmen who have gone through the rigors and the training to become certified journalists who know what they're doing, we have those who are impersonating, who are imposing themselves, going about calling themselves, pressmen. And also these people are also the people who most likely bring about fake news. We're trying to, fight against fake news, fake articles. Just recently, the former Vice President, Head of State, former Vice President, President, I beg your pardon, I don't know why I'm missing this. Former Head of State, Olusegun Obasanjo, there were news about him saying that he had died, and he had come out to debunk such news. These are news that are falsified and doctored by these, people who have imposed themselves, called themselves pressmen. I think first on that list will be to see to it that these people, do not defame, and spoil the reputation of journalists, and to ensure that every one of them, wherever they are caught, they are remanded, so that we have less cases of people like these who go about and spoiling the game for genuine pressmen. And also we look forward to seeing a lot of things, a lot of because right now he's speaking for the rest of journalists who are out there. Improvement in terms of welfare for pressmen as well. Pressmen should be able to be able to move around freely. We look forward to legislations that are going to enhance the lives of journalists in Nigeria, welfare of journalists, well-being of journalists, just all round. We want to see that, so we look forward to that, and we want to believe that part of his manifestos, the manifestos of Al-Hassan, who is now the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, was to see to the welfare of journalists, nationwide, and we look forward to it, and we look forward to him collaborating with the Union of Journalists in other states as well. So I think that will be that for me. That's most pressing for me right now.
Yeah, while you were speaking, you made some very salient points, and that's when you were talking about the fact that some persons who are parading themselves as journalists, and they are the ones that go to write stories that are not real. Why do they do that? Because they want to make money. They want to get money. I remember a story. I was told a story where someone published something about Bishop David Oyedepo, and the person was showing him the paper. They say, oh, sir, look at your picture here. There is something in this paper about you. You need to buy this paper. And as a matter of fact, and he responded. He said, okay, I am the one they are talking about. There is nothing about me that I don't know. So there's no point buying the paper. So these people, what they do is that they go extra mile to write stories that are not real because they want to make money. And these are the kinds of people that spoil the profession, all right, that soil, tarnish the image of the profession. I think Comrade Yahaya and his team can do well to fish out these people. At least when 1 or 2 persons are being treated, others will take caution. Then the area of online media has done a lot of damages, because now anybody just wake up and own a blog and they go ahead to write whatever they want to write, and these people will look at themselves, they will call themselves journalists. You know, these are the kind of things that should be checkmates. You know, if you want to be a journalist, you should be a member of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, okay, so that we will know that you are a journalist. But you don't just go create a blog and you start posting stories. In fact, if you open your WhatsApp right now, you see a lot of links, you know, links taking you to only God knows where, because these people just wake up to create this website, these blogs, and they post whatever they want to post. That should also be checked. And whoever that is not a member of NUJ, flaunting himself as NUJ, should also try as much as possible to stop that. And one very important thing again is I think the president would also have to, comrade, if you can hear me by any means, this one is very important, because a lot of NUJ branch offices are having a whole lot of issues. Some persons are doing things that are not in line with the rules and regulations of NUJ because of personal interest, and that has gone a long way to make so many people all right, denounce their membership of NUJ. A lot of people stop attending meetings, okay, because of issues, problems, okay, maybe the leadership, like what is happening in Abuja, for instance, the FCT branch of NUJ, they are preparing for their elections right now, and a whole lot happening, you know, a whole lot happening that should be looked at, so that the people can have the freedom to appoint whoever they want to be the state chairman. You know, the proper structure is very, very important. But then when the people are scared, maybe some persons may say, I don't want problem. Maybe on the day of the election, you may not even see them there. Maybe the process of getting ID card, someone may want to sabotage the process, maybe collecting money from people unlawfully. You know, things like this. All these little things are things, because they said charity begins at home. If we are the watchdogs of the society that calls white, white, and black, black, we should be able to put our own house in order first and foremost before we can even spread our tentacles outside. So part of the things that Nigerian journalists will be expecting from Comrade Alhassan Yahaya is that he should visit the various branches, speak with the leadership, and know what is happening there, because the state branches will have to be operational. We have to be okay before the national level can actually be effective. Because if your children are not okay and you are a father, you won't be fine, you won't be comfortable, and nobody will give you the kudos. So what should be done after settling into office is to make sure that these people are being visited, and whatever grievances that they have, and the journalists who are part of that branch, whatever grievances that they have should be settled amicably, because as journalists, we can be more effective when we are together. Unity is very important. Allowing the people, we are the ones that always preach free and fair election. We monitor most of the elections that happens in Nigeria. Okay, a lot of people have crucified 1 or 2 persons on paper in the media because of inconsistencies in elections. So if our own election to elect our officers is not free and fair, then it means something is wrong somewhere. And that's the reason we are applauding the election done at the national level, where our Comrade Alhassan Yahaya is scoring as much as 400 and something to his rival, who scored just 90 something. That is to tell you that it is very free and fair. There is no way you can question that. all right, because you can see the margin. This is who the people want to lead them based on one antecedent or the other, based on one thing or the other, and they have all of that put in place. And once again, we are looking forward to a smooth running Nigerian Union of Journalists, better than what it has been. Because one thing that I will not fail to say, like I will always say to people in governance, politicians, is that if you meet anything good on ground, there is nothing bad when there is continuity, okay? And if anything is bad, take it away, all right, and come in with something different. There is no point to say, well, these are new escorts, these are new officials, whether these things are good or not. We should take them away and start on a clean slate, or maybe from the bottom. That may not be so good, because we are very intelligent people and we do our things the intelligent way, especially when we have an intelligent president at the helm of affairs. All right, Queen. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, the conversation will continue. Remember that we will also bring up some other conversations. But above all, we want to say congratulations to the newly elected president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, and his vice president, who happens to be a female. And of course, this is something that is commendable. And if this can be replicated at the various branches, so that someone will say, oh, you are a female, you cannot be the president. No, if you are a female and you have what it takes and you know what you're coming to do, you should be given the opportunity, especially when the people are throwing their support behind that female candidate. We will go on a quick break. When we return, the conversation will take another turn altogether, because we want to look at what is happening, matters arising from the situation in Port Harcourt concerning the Port Harcourt refinery, which they say is ready for production, and all of that will come. Queen and I will return for more conversation as we'll have our guest join us. A lot of Nigerians have come up with different questions and reactions coming since the claims by the Port Harcourt refinery. As a matter of fact, we're being told that the operations will start very soon. Not just operations, products will be coming out of the Port Harcourt refineries, that tankers are already waiting. And I was actually watching an interview yesterday where a tank driver was talking about the fact that they are very happy about the development, that instead of going to get fuel from as far as Lagos State, they will be getting from Port Harcourt. But then a lot of questions are being asked by Nigerians. Some of the questions is, well, oftentimes we've gotten promises, but then how far did they really go? How is it really going? And that has posed a lot, all right, for Nigerians. As it is right now, the production level is questionable because a lot of people are saying over 30 millions of Nigerians, all right, are actually looking forward to consumption of fuel. Then how many, all right, will be produced, all right? Then you also, 3 million, I beg your pardon. Then as a matter of fact, the number of production, okay, compared to what we have is quite different. Then you begin to look at situations whereby the pricing will become a problem, because even NNPC, as the case may be, might be the only ones to get this product from the Port Harcourt refinery. But then, let's look at it from the angle of the marketers who came up today to express their grievances because they are not so comfortable with the idea that these products may not get to them. One thing that we should actually look at is what is going to be the production level. Is the production going to be from scratch to finish, or it is just going to be some form of maybe meddling or mixing? A whole lot of questions coming from Nigerians, and Nigerians are very, very keen. They are keen. They want to see how it will go at the end of the day, because what the average Nigerian wants to hear right now is that the price of fuel have crashed from 1,000 naira to, let's say, 500 naira. And that's what Nigerians are looking forward to right now. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll have our guest join us for the program proper as we talk about the matters arising from the claims. Some people are still calling it claims because this is Nigeria. You hear a lot of things, but if not until these things begin to happen in real terms, people don't believe anymore. So after this break, my guest will join me as we look at the matters arising from the Port Harcourt refinery, and that will come after this break. Stay with us. Well, the conversation is getting more serious right now because I have Doctor in the studio right here who is going to join me in the conversation. And the matters arising. Nigerians are saying so much. You know, to whom much is given, they said much is expected. So you shouldn't be surprised if Nigerians are reacting to the claims that the Port Harcourt refinery will be putting out products. Now I have in the studio with me Dr. Niyi Akinsiju, and of course he is a financial and investment analyst. He is also the chairman, Independent Media and Policy Initiative. It's good to have you in the studio today, Doc.
It's a privilege. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I think making out time to be here today speaks volume, and personally, I would want to say it's good that Nigerians will have you talk to us about the claims. It is still a claim until we start seeing this product and Nigerians start feeling the effect and the impact of the refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery. But then, how did you feel hearing that the Port Harcourt refinery is beginning operations?
Thanks so much for having me once again. I think going forward, what we may need to address is the mistrust or the trust gap, between people, the Nigerian people and the Nigerian government. So much that when there are announcements of positive developments around institutions, service delivery, etc., there's always a tendency to take such information or announcement with a pinch of salt. It talks to the quality of relationship between the people and the government, and which should not be. Well, as a person, and of course because I have a research orientation, when an announcement of government is made, I go out of my way, to research and of course to validate whatever those claims may be. So if you are putting it as a claim, I think you are right. But I have extended that information by also trying to validate at the source if indeed such had happened. Because producing white products, and these are, we're talking about processed refined products from Nigerian refineries, historical in the sense that at the time we were the hub of refinement, or refining petroleum products in the West African region. And then, of course, we turned into a circle of importing because we lacked the capacity to produce. And we were actually wasting so much of our resources in terms of our reserves and our earnings revenue. Then we had to also subsidize, those products. We could, when we were producing and we had so much money, we could subsidize. But it got to a situation where, in actual fact, we were spending a larger volume or percentage of our revenue on importing products, especially PMS, premium motor spirit, which is popularly known as petrol. So now we are coming through the full circle. We are nearly going to become the hub of petroleum products processing in West Africa. We have a 650,000 barrels a day Dangote petroleum refinery, which is private sector led. And then we have what I used to call our Leviathan. Leviathan in the sense that we have this huge complex that over time we more or less killed, And of course, it should not have died in the first instance. So now we have seen those refineries dead for close to 15 years. There's no way we wouldn't have trust issue if government suddenly comes and said it is now operational. After more than 12 different claims, that it will be operational. Thankfully, a final announcement was made that the Port Harcourt old refineries, there are 2 refineries in the Port Harcourt complex, You have the old refineries built and commissioned in 1965, 60,000 barrels a day. You have the second, what you call new refineries. It's not exactly new. It's 1979. So when you call 1979 entity new, then but of course it's just to differentiate
that's
the two refineries.
About 40 something years.
So
for the 46.
In fact, in terms of technology, it's not it's not supposed to be a current contemporary technology. But what is important is that it is announced now that the 60,000 barrels, is now streaming. We still have the 110,000 new refineries that is being worked upon. So our focus will be on the 60,000 old barrels, old refinery. And the information I have is that the capacity of production has been ramped up to 70%. So which means it is not producing at 100% yet. It's producing at 70%. So to that extent, it will mean that we are not, the refinery is not producing up to 60,000 barrels a day. And these are the granular information that the refineries should have also, the NNPC Limited, should have also brought to the public. So the public knows exactly, what's the nature of this revampment and, of course, the recommissioning of the refineries is. So, to the extent of the information that I have, it will be producing up to 70%. And when I reviewed it, I even told some of my colleagues that we should KIV, to know the extent of production and if it be sustained, so that we can talk about the trend.
That's something very important, talking about sustainability. Yeah. Like you talked about trust issue from the beginning. One of the major problems that Nigerians had and they are still having is the issue of trust when government speaks, because what we actually hear during campaigns are different from what happens when they get into office. Remember, we're told when this administration came into office that the Port Harcourt refineries was going to start working by January. Then later on they said, okay, it's going to work, it's not working January anymore. They extended it. They even told us December before January, and now we're hearing that it's beginning operations. Now, the question is this: how is it going to be sustained? But then, let's look at the reason why we actually said it is a claim is because a particular set of civil society organizations are coming up to say what we have is what they have converted the refinery, to a blending plant, all right, meaning imported fuel, will be blended. And from there you have other products. That's what we have, and it is a claim, and that is part of what we are complaining about. And looking at the quantity that will be produced, is that something to celebrate? Because as a matter of fact, what Nigerians are looking for right now, what they are looking forward to is when they can get to the bus stop, start by the roadside, and where they go to for 1,000 naira will now be 500, 200, as the case may be. That's this impact, this operation translating into a feelable impact for the average Nigerian. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, in our analysis, we need to be objective. We need to be down to earth, and of course relate to reality. Yes, the trust issue, it's actually is a problem, it's a challenge, and I think the communication channels and the communication, the whole spectrum of communication between government institutions, and we're not even talking about the villa now, between government institutions and the public should be properly calibrated in the sense that there is a need for all Nigerians to be stakeholders in whatever the institution is doing. NNPC is a major strategic institution, because that more or less is the life wire of the Nigerian economy. And every Nigerian, wherever he is, he or she is, and whatever may be his age grade, is impacted by NNPC, NNPC activities. So to a large extent, when the NNPC is making announcements, which is seen to be an announcement on behalf of the Nigerian government, it should come out and be open, transparent, And when you set a date, you must be responsible to that date. I think it's also in that line that the president, Bola Tinubu, directed NNPC that going forward, if they are going to make any announcement, they should not put a date. Because it is that date that becomes the template of performance. The people take that date and they run with it. So why do you fix a date that you are not sure would be effective and come to pass? So I think the president directive, and it's a public directive to them, the NNPC even came out to say the president that told us, that we should not give a date to this the new 110,000 barrels they are working on, but that they know that very soon, it will be activated. So I think that the nature of that directive is important, because the orbit of communication is pivoted on the dissemination of truth, and that truth is relative, because it must be understood to be truth by the recipients of the information. So, and of course, the origin of that, the source of that information, should understand how the recipients would, of course, take that information. So that is one for trust. Then two, is it possible for a liter of petrol to be sold at 500, 200 in Nigeria? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so, because when you also look at the price templates of the refineries, the best possible we can get would be the relationship between pricing and production is determined by the cost of crude. We cannot run away from that. That is standard input, is a standard raw material for refinery. So if as crude is moving, either upward or downward, we will of course feel, the price, either up or down in the marketplace. If we are lucky, as a people, it falls to $60 per barrel. It will reflect, of course, on the price, but again, it becomes a negative on our sovereign wealth, because crude oil forms about 90% of our earnings, as
so in other words, we'll be paying for the price to be high. Why the ripple effect is that Nigerians will be buying at a very high rate. But how can you marry the fact that we are a nation that has these natural resources, and we are buying at this exorbitant rate? Some persons will make comparisons and say, in this country, this is how they are buying. In this other country, this is how they are buying. Because some persons have actually said, some Nigerians believe that the marketers, the independent marketers and the actors, the players, somehow do some manipulations to make sure they get more profit, because the bodies that are checkmating this process are not doing a good job. I don't know if you're of the same school of thought.
I am not, because I am an analyst. And because to that extent, when I take an issue, I contextualize it. There's no sentiments about it. So you take an issue and you realize that there are so many factors determining the price. If you are talking the price of petroleum products now, there are so many factors determining that. And I'm saying that the basic factor, that determines the price of petroleum products is crude. And there's no way you can run away from that.
That's true.
And then you also now have, in the Nigerian context now, you have old, and I'm taking it as a collective, old refinery institutions. Warri Refinery, Kaduna Refinery, Port Harcourt Refinery, with the two refineries in Port Harcourt. those are very old refineries. No matter the rehabilitation, you know, they would just operate per capacity. And that's why I'm suspicious. I am waiting for the sustainability of the refineries. If it can work consistently for 6 months, then I will say, okay, now the refineries have capacity to be sustained, you know, because of the whole nature. Then you also have the new Dangote refinery. The difference in that is that that's a new refinery that would also want to recoup its investment, you know, on the money spent to structure it and, of course, to establish it. So there would be the level of depreciation of the refinery would be higher. The percentage of depreciation would be higher. So the owner would also want to quickly start earning something, you know, relatively huge, big, to ensure its recovery of costs. So now. But the truth of the matter is, if we have other refineries, including the whole 445,000 capacity federal government-owned refineries, competition will be enabled. And that, to a large extent, would control whatever may be the tendency for price gouging by players in that institution. We are also hopeful that the modular refineries, you know, about 4 or 5 of them, are coming on stream. 10,000 capacity, some 12,000, but I have not seen any that is more than 20,000. But the whole spectrum of that ecosystem tells us that if we allow open market, competitive regime administration, we would have enough products in the economy, so much that we will satisfy our needs, though not at the rate that we've been enjoying, you know, but we will satisfy our need, we'll be able to export, we'll earn more, and in meaningful ways, we would have resources, you know, to divert or to channel to developmental infrastructure, which is important. And that could be the real cost of what we are, of the cost we are, the cost burden, you know, of current removal of subsidy on petroleum products. So the idea will now be, what is the opportunity cost? What is the real cost of what we are giving up? Infrastructure.
All right. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. The conversation is around the operations of the Port Harcourt refinery, because a civil society organization are making some form of claims, but clarity is coming right now from Dr. Wright here. After the break, we'll return and we'll talk more about the Dangote refineries, the competition and the pricing, and what Nigerians are expecting and what they should also expect, especially as the festive period draws very close. All of that will come in our conversations after this break. As a matter of fact, the arrival of the Dangote refinery puts a lot of expectations from Nigerians. Some other persons we are celebrating, but some other people we are of the school of thought that the Dangote refinery may not be able to meet the needs of Nigerians as Nigerians were expecting when they heard the news initially. And I have right here in the studio Dr. Niyi, and as a matter of fact, he is doing justice to the issue of the Port Harcourt refineries. But then there is no way you can talk about refineries in Nigeria without mentioning the Dangote refinery. How did you feel hearing the first time about the operations of the Dangote refinery?
Excited. Excited because of the potentials of the Dangote refinery. Excited because we have the first single line petroleum refining company in the world. The largest single line anywhere in the world. Single. It may be it's in
Nigeria.
And it's in Nigeria. I think, one, that's a reason for national pride. And we have to continue to give kudos to the promoter of that refinery. It shows a person with a huge appetite for ambition. And he has expressed that ambition, and I can tell you that across the world, in the up to 10 years period that it took him to put that refinery together, not many people believed it can be done in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, because it has a ripple effect in global economy. More than 3 refineries in Europe had packed up as we talked because of the streaming of Dangote's petroleum refinery. More than 4. And about 3 others had made announcements that they may need to pack up. Already, products are being taken from Dangote refineries abroad. They are being exported to Europe, to London, to UK. Jet 1, that's the aircraft fuel, it's as popular as any other standard product, in the UK, and they are embracing it. So to a large extent, yesterday or 2 days ago, the announcement, the 2 refineries in Amsterdam that are popular with their own importers, with NNPC and some other importers in Africa, are packed up. Because where they were supplying at cost, at certain price templates, the Dangote refinery are taking over. So for me, it is not just about the Dangote refinery giving us, providing, facilitating fuel for Nigeria. It is actually that we have a Nigerian brand competing effectively and substantially across global markets. So it talks to the Nigerian brand by extension, either at the level of who we are, or even at the level of the kind of product we will sell to the Nigeria, to the global world, beyond petroleum products. Because the product coming from Dangote is said to be of perhaps the highest standard globally. So, and don't also forget that we now have what we always advocate for: processed economy. Before, we were selling crude oil, not processed, and we were at the beck and call and the mercy, of global economy. What we call the metropolitan merchants. Metropolitan merchants are happy to take our raw materials, go and refine them, and then of course bring them back to us, and they sell at a higher price than what they bought. Now, but we are building a new template, and that is the developmental template that some of us have been advocating since forever. Take your raw materials, process them before you sell into the world. So we have a Dangote refinery, transforming that vision into reality. And you have the federal government also driving its NNPC managed refineries to also come on stream on that line. So what could be more exciting? And it also means that the scarce foreign exchange that we're using to purchase these products across the world, we are saving it for ourselves. We are saving it for ourselves and increase the Nigerian capacity, the economic capacity of Nigeria, either to trade, or to provide service to the people. So when you look at it going forward, the whole economic ecosystem for Nigeria is becoming exciting.
All right, Doctor, let's look at one aspect, because something happened, something transpired when Dangote Refinery first started. And that is the issue of refusing to give Dangote Refinery crude. There was a cry from Dangote himself that they were not getting crude. And so many things played out. And some Nigerians were very, very angry at that why what we have been clamoring for, we now have. then the issue of getting crude to refine for the benefit of Nigerians is becoming an issue. That is one. And some persons are saying there are other forces, the key players. Remember what the president came into office and said before removing subsidy. During his speech, he said there are some elites of elites who are benefiting from this subsidy, and for that reason it has to be removed for a smooth selling of the economy of the nation. Now, we have some persons of the school of thought, some Nigerians, that there are some actors who are also trying to frustrate the Dangote refinery. Remember the issue of pricing. At a point, Dangote had to come out to say, well, the pricing will be determined not by Dangote refinery themselves, but from the government, and all of this played out. And some Nigerians are saying there are some forces trying to sabotage the effort of the Dangote refinery. And as we speak, contrary to what some persons believe, even though we know that the price of crude oil from across the sea will also have to determine the price, Nigerians are still saying the price of this product is high for us. But then some people are saying it is not the fault of Dangote, that there are some actors who are playing this game behind the scene. I don't know what you think.
Well, there could be a reason for suspicion, but like I told you, when I come in contact with information or sentiments as expressed, I take it as a responsibility to see how possible I can validate. You know, I take that as I am a multidisciplined expert. So I understand issues in communications, I understand issues in investment and financial financial management. So when I get information like this one that you have talked about, perhaps I should be one of the recipients of that information under 24 hours when it started circulating. But let's take the two together. You asked me about NAFTA and the blending of the Nigerian by Nigerian, what do you call it, the Port Harcourt refineries. I quickly want to say that in truth, the refinery is producing. And when you produce, you must blend with NAFTA. NAFTA is the first grade of processed crude oil. So it's nearer crude oil. So when you process it, its capacity is purer than crude oil, and then it provides some form of quality. I don't want to use the technical word. It provides some forms of quality upgrade to the refined PMS. So it is anywhere in the world, there's always a blending level for PMS. And it is the thoroughness of the blending that determines the quality. And especially if we are concerned with environmental issues, the blending level is important, you know, because it affects the emission level of the usage of the PMS we are using. So there's nothing wrong in what the refineries, the Port Harcourt refinery is doing. It's producing PMS,
and that's what Nigerians want.
It's blending the PMS with NAFTA, and I'm talking specifically with NAFTA. You know, and it is proper that such is properly blended, you know, so that we can also ameliorate or mitigate the impact of CO2, you know, on the impact of CO2 emission on our environment.
That's carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. So now, the Dangote politics. I am not surprised when we started hearing all forms of maneuvers, sometimes subterfuge, you know, in terms of auxiliary policies that were emanating from the NNPC. See, the NNPC had been importing fuel effectively since 2006. So what it knows best over the last 14 to 15 years thereabouts is about importing, not about refining. So all of a sudden, we now found this behemoth in our space, refining. And I can tell you that most people in the NNPC did not believe, that the Dangote refinery will come to stay. So it's a shock. Even I think it will even can be decided to be a corporate shock, because all of a sudden here is one person, an individual, had turned the whole scenario and had changed it to the fact that here is a living high capacity refinery that is actually refining in the Nigerian space. It also translates to mean that there should be a new structure to service that refinery. So it is, and in doing that, there will be a lot of dynamics, there will be a lot of sentiments at play, a lot of assaults on old thinking and new thinking. So that is why initially you had that resistance, But the president, in his good wisdom, had to intervene. Because if you had left it to the bureaucrats, it will be what exactly is the benefit for us and all manners of arguments, But the patriotic perspective that the president, had to employ and deploy in this matter should be commended. Don't also forget that, there could be an argument in the incapacitation of the NNPC to produce more crude, and of course the argument would be, let us produce our crude and sell for dollar and enhance our foreign reserve. But the truth of the matter is, you produce more, you will sell without processing, and you're still in that old school habits. We have an institution that is enhancing our crude production. And because we are enhancing our crude production, we're going to earn more from a barrel of crude going forward. Because we know the minimum you can get in terms of byproducts from a barrel of crude is not less than 32 byproducts. And we were importing, there was a time we were doing, willing seller, willing buyer, will sell our crude oil, we give our crude oil to certain entities abroad who will refine, send us PMS. Just one of the byproducts in the processing cycle of crude oil. Naphtha, low fuel oil, that's LPFO, HPFO, and all manners of products.
They take down and just give us PMS.
And some of us who also have some little knowledge about the industry would ask, you have taken away this barrel, you are giving us PMS. What about the AGO? What about the Jet 1? What about the low fuel oil? What about the HPFO? What about this? What about that? What about kerosene? Where are they? Nobody answered. So now you have a Dangote refinery, and hopefully you have the NNPC managed refineries, producing and refining. They are not just selling crude oil; they are selling PMS. They are selling AGO, they are selling Jet 1, they are selling kerosene, they are selling HPFO. It is because we could not get LPFO, low fuel oil, which is the energy used by textile companies back then. That's why most textile companies ran down.
We were thinking it's because of poor management, not knowing that.
Beyond that, we used to have a bubbling, substantially vibrant petrochemical industry back in those days. That industry more or less went into a demise because the refineries were not producing. So it is now a whole complex would be resuscitated, and that has implication for employment, has implication for wealth creation, and of course have implication for export earnings. So this thing is not just about Nigeria using 1 liter of PMSO. It has a combination of varied impacts on the Nigerian economy. So, and that is why we must always also monitor the NNPC. It is the president has said, provide these people with crude oil at Naira rates. At Naira rates also means that we are saving our dollars. And it translates to me that indeed, crude oil is indigenous to Nigeria.
So
yes, the Naira should take premium in transaction, and it also means that it will impact one way or the other the Nigerian people. You know, because when it is sold in Naira, the dollar templates in the pricing system is removed. It is replaced by Naira. By certain percentage, it would impact the price templates. And that way we can say indeed and in truth, we Nigerians are also beneficiary of the product that is indigenous to us.
All right, we Nigerians are also beneficiaries to the product available to us. So in other words, the Dangote refinery has come to ameliorate a whole lot, bring succor to the cry of Nigerians. But then I think Nigerians are still waiting for something very important. Even though my guests have said the price of the crude out there determine the price of the petroleum product. And of course, from the market out there, we can also think and forecast into what will happen in the nearest future. What do you think will happen if the Port Harcourt refinery is working? That of Kaduna is working, that of Warri is working, and we also have Dangote refinery working. One of the area that has interested me the most is the fact that he has made reference to some other countries who are now not operational because of the emergence of the Dangote refineries. But then I'm afraid if anything happens and Dangote refinery begin to service other countries and Nigeria is not being serviced the way it is. But that's going to be a discussion for another day as our time is up already. A very big thank you to you, Doctor, for coming around out of your busy schedule. At least you're here today. We are grateful. We hope to have you some other time.
It's all right.
Thank you.
For having me.
Thank you. We are grateful. Thank you, viewers, for joining us on Global Morning for today. We'll come on your way again, same time, same station tomorrow for another very wonderful edition of the Daybreak Show, which is Global Morning. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Have a beautiful day ahead of you. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle as he
The
tried.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.